Secretary General and ministers. We have 3 ministers here tonight, and I think that's a tremendous show for WWF, so I need to right away congratulate WWF on this wonderful evening. The business community is, in my view, the key community in addressing the problems that we're tackling now, so a special welcome to the business community here as well. Secretary General, you have taken on a massive responsibility at a key turning point, not only in our recent history, but I'm going to say in the history of our civilization. This is a big thing to say, but as a scientist coming into government, and my responsibility to the British government was on all aspects of science, I had to make a detailed study of the science of climate change and of its impacts on humanity. And that study reveals to everyone who goes into it just what a serious problem it is that we're essentially faced with. As we put greenhouse gases up into the atmosphere, we need to also remember that half of the greenhouse gases we're emitting also go into the oceans. We are acidifying the oceans, we are warming the oceans, we're raising ocean levels, we're changing weather patterns. And when I say changing weather patterns, it's easy to say, well, a bit more rain or a bit less rain won't matter. Our human societies have come to depend on our weather systems critically. People from Tartu here from India will know how dependent India is on the monsoon. If the monsoon is 10% greater one year, serious flooding, real problems. If it's 10% less one year, failure of crops. India relies on the monsoon exactly as it is. We scientists have great difficulty predicting what will happen to the monsoon, but we can be sure of one thing: it's a very sensitive weather system, as are many of these weather systems. And here in Africa, it's again very difficult to predict what the rainfall patterns will do. We know about desertification creeping up from the south and down from the north, squeezing in on the equatorial region. We can't predict in any sort of precision what the rainfall patterns will be across that region. But what we know for sure from the way humanity lives around the world, that any change is a serious problem because we've all adapted to the climate in our region exactly as it is. And we know the pressures of the population that the Secretary General lay before us have added to that problem. We can't simply move to another part of the planet where the farming is going to be better for us because there are people there already and high density occupying that part of the planet. So my message to my Prime Minister at the time, back in the year 2000, was, this is the big problem of your period in government. What should we be doing about it? And this is how we generated Britain's commitment to reducing its emissions by 60% by 2050. Subsequently, we raised that to 80%. This was actually a major break with the negotiating process. Here was a country saying, not as I go into the bargaining, I'm going to come out with the smallest commitment I can get. This was a country saying, this is what we think everyone should do, and we put it on the table saying, we will do it. We then had a G8 meeting where Prime Minister Blair was in the chair. And I said, let's put climate change on the agenda. And we had climate change and African development on the agenda. And then I said, and we have to invite not just the G8 nations, we must have the +5 countries. And that was the origin of G8 +5. In 2005, up in Gleneagles, we invited the heads of states of India, Brazil, China, Mexico, and South Africa to that meeting. Now I'm pleased to say it's morphed into a G20, but I do think the heads of states meeting alongside the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change meetings, is a critical part of the process. We do need the top-down pressure from the heads of states, as well as the more bottom-up process of the United Nations Framework Convention. The business community, interestingly enough, around the world, is picking up on a new message, which is that risk management for mankind, which is what we scientists are talking about, how do we manage this risk, becomes an opportunity. Every businessman who sees that defossilizing their business, managing energy efficiency, moving to efficient processes is an opportunity, is turning that risk into an opportunity if their competitors don't do it. And what we see around the world is that major businesses are understanding that message. It's the business community that takes the solutions to the marketplace. It's the governments that need to regulate and create obligations and create the playing field on which the business community can operate when they bring the solutions to the marketplace. So for me, the way our societies generated wealth through that chain, science, technology, manufacturing, wealth creation, that's how the wealth of our societies was first generated. I see a new opportunity, a new renaissance, to create a new lean, green, mean manufacturing machine that will produce the products suitable to the 21st century, where we resource manage carefully, where we manage the global commons, where we understand the importance of the ecosystem services to humanity, where all of that emerges as a 21st century phenomenon driven by good governance, by good governments, and of course, by good business communities. I think we need to understand, to respect the value of the global commons in that process. And Secretary General, there's your other big challenge. The state of the atmosphere we breathe is the matter of this conference and what we're putting up into it. I mentioned the oceans, and we are mistreating that piece of the global commons very badly as well. We need to develop a new attitude towards social values in everything we do so that our future and our future generations will not only survive, but will manage on a much happier planet. Thank you.